I froze, hands trembling, as I overheard my family casually joking about how my house, the only place I could get some peace and quiet by myself, was just their private free resort. Everything would be fine until they ruined it all. My name's Hannah, and for most of my 32 years, I'd felt overshadowed by my boisterous family. I'll never forget the first time I saw my little beach house. After saving meticulously for years, the reward was this cozy little sanctuary on the shoreline, modest but mine, a perfect oasis for someone who craved solitude, more than company. I'd spend mornings coding from my porch, afternoons walking barefoot in wet sand, and evenings savoring sunsets that painted the sky in rich shades of orange and purple. Life finally felt balanced, serene, completely within my control. My older brother, Jason, the family's golden child at 38, was married to Emily, a polished perfectionist who organized family gatherings like military operations. They had 2 kids, Ben, 10, and Sophie, 7, whose energy could power a small city. My younger sister, Olivia, 29, married Ryan, a mellow guy who seemed perpetually overwhelmed. Their daughter, Mia, a sweet yet mischievous 5-year-old, always found ways to test boundary. Then there were my parents, Robert and Linda, kind-hearted but overbearing, the unquestioned generals of our family dynamics. Dad, at 65, was retired but still behaved as if he commanded a corporate office, while Mum, 63, retained absolute authority on all family decisions, big or small. Growing up, I was often the quiet afterthought because my voice was softer, easily drowned out by the confident, louder tones of Jason and Olivia. I learned early that blending into the background offered fewer disappointments. But my life in California had slowly reshaped me, emboldened by independence and solitude. For once, I felt truly happy. Then came the day I made the critical mistake of sharing my joy. It was mid-May, nearly a year after I had settled into my beachside refuge, when my mother called with her usual cheerful intensity. "Hannah, sweetheart, we hardly hear from you anymore." Mum chided gently over the phone, her voice a blend of concern and mild reproach. "I've been busy, Mom," I answered, gazing through the window at the endless blue horizon. "Working hard on a new app and, honestly, just enjoying the quiet." "Still locked away behind a computer?" Her sigh was theatrical. "You know, there's more to life than work. Speaking of life, any news?" "No exciting news, Mom, but actually—" I hesitated, knowing once the words left my mouth, I couldn't take them back. "I bought a beach house here last summer. It's modest, nothing extravagant, but it's mine. And it's right on the ocean." The line went momentarily silent, and I could almost hear Mum calculating the potential. Then came the inevitable reaction, predictable as the tide. "Hannah, honey, that's fantastic news!" Her excitement was tangible, but something else lurked beneath it, a kind of sly triumph. "The entire family has been dying for a change from our usual crowded resorts. You know, hotels are so impersonal and terribly overpriced. Oh, I'm calling your dad immediately. He'll be thrilled. This'll be perfect for our annual family vacation." I blinked rapidly, my pulse quickening in mild panic. "Wait, Mum, I didn't mean... The house isn't that big. It's more of a studio, really. It's perfect for me alone, but a large group..." She didn't let me finish. "Don't be ridiculous. Family squeezes together. That's part of the fun. We'll make it work. Your brother's kids adore the beach, and you know how much Mia loves the ocean." "Oh, Hannah, this will be amazing. Jason and Emily will be so relieved. Olivia and Ryan too. It's perfect timing." Before I could protest further, she was already making plans aloud, mapping out the entire summer. By the time we hung up, dread had replaced my previous tranquility. The weeks that followed passed too quickly. I prepared reluctantly, furnishing guest spaces I never wanted, stocking food and supplies with a heaviness I couldn't shake. The beach no longer represented freedom. It was now a staging area for an inevitable invasion. The day my family arrived, I stood anxiously on my porch as 3 cars rolled into my gravel driveway, packed roof to bumper with luggage, coolers, beach toys, and the noisy excitement of children. Mom emerged first, sunglasses pushed atop her short silver hair, arms outstretched. "Hannah, honey, it's gorgeous here," she beamed, squeezing me tightly before stepping aside to survey her surroundings with satisfaction. Dad followed close behind, nodding approval. "Good investment," he declared, as if inspecting property for resale rather than greeting his daughter. Then came Jason, always confident, grinning broadly as he hoisted suitcases from the car, tossing me a casual salute. "Hey sis, beachfront living suits you. Hope you've stocked up on plenty of sunscreen." Emily smiled thinly, adjusting her designer sunglasses as she gently nudged Ben and Sophie forward. "Aunt Hannah's house is so quaint," she murmured, the word quaint dripping with barely concealed judgment. Olivia and Ryan appeared last, Mia squealing with delight at her first glimpse of sand. Olivia wrapped me in a perfumed hug, then glanced inside. "Cute place, Hannah. A little cramped for all of us, but we'll manage." Within minutes, my peaceful haven transformed into chaos. Bags cluttered the entrance, toys scattered across my carefully maintained floors, and the air filled with shouts, laughter, and demands. "Where's the Wi-Fi password?" Jason called from the living room, already settling in front of my television. "Sophie spilled juice," Emily announced, pointing vaguely at the rug. "Hannah, can Mia sleep with you tonight?" Olivia asked, more a statement than a request. My parents beamed happily from my porch chairs, oblivious to the chaos inside. Mom sighed contentedly. This was such a good idea. It's exactly what Hannah needs. More family around her. I stood amidst the whirlwind, panic rising, realizing too late that I'd lost control again. What was supposed to be my sanctuary had become everyone else's vacation paradise, yet deep down, a part of me still held on to hope. Maybe, just maybe, this would be a positive bonding experience, an opportunity to reconnect. Perhaps it wouldn't be so overwhelming after all. I clung desperately to that thought, ignoring the tightening knot in my stomach, a knot I'd soon learned was my instinct screaming warnings I should have never ignored. Because the truth would soon surface ugly and unavoidable. To them, I wasn't family. I was merely a convenient escape, a free service easily dismissed and casually betrayed. And as I watched my carefully constructed haven descend into disorder, a chilling realization hit me. This was just the beginning of my summer nightmare. I knew I was in trouble the moment my family's cars pulled into my driveway that first summer. Despite my anxiety, I had convinced myself that maybe this could be good, maybe even therapeutic. After all, this was my family. People always said family time was precious, didn't they? That first summer, I spared no expense trying to make everything perfect. It was my first home and I was proud of it. I rented beach chairs and colourful umbrellas, stocked up on premium food and drinks from Whole Foods, and even scheduled catering from one of the best seafood restaurants in town. By the time they arrived, my cozy beach retreat had been transformed into a private resort, ready to impress. But from the moment their car doors slammed shut, my vision of an idyllic family gathering began to blur at the edges. Jason strode in first, dropping a mountain of luggage directly in the middle of the entryway. Emily followed, already rattling off demands. "Hannah, is there gluten-free food for Sophie? You remembered she's allergic, right?" "Yes, Emily," I said calmly, forcing a smile. I remembered. I had triple-checked everything, driven by anxiety more than genuine hospitality. The kids immediately began exploring the house. Ben jumped on my new sofa, leaving a sandy footprint behind, while Sophie gleefully scattered seashells across my spotless hardwood floors. Jason slouched onto the couch, flipping through TV channels as if he owned the place. Mum and Dad settled onto the porch, glasses of Chardonnay already poured. Olivia and Ryan casually dropped their bags in the middle of the living room, letting Mia rummage freely. As days passed, my anxiety grew, the house filled with noise, clutter, and a constant flow of demands. Ben spilled soda on my favorite rug, Sophie cried over lost beach toys, and Mia left fingerprints of peanut butter everywhere she went. Not once did anyone offer to clean up after themselves or pitch in financially, and whenever I gently hinted at needing help, I got blank stares and dismissive laughs. "Come on, Hannah," Jason chuckled, clapping my back. "Relax, it's vacation." But this wasn't vacation. Not for me. It felt more like hosting strangers than family. Each night, after everyone went to bed, I silently cleaned the mess left behind, questioning if I'd ever had a real relationship with these people who shared my last name. When the following year rolled around, I convinced myself I'd set clear boundaries, but before I could even suggest ground rules, my phone buzzed unexpectedly early one sunny June morning. "Surprise!" Olivia squealed excitedly through the speaker. "We're already halfway there." I nearly choked on my iced coffee. "Wait, Olivia, you're not supposed to come until next week." "Oh, relax, it's summer, plans change," she laughed breezily. My heart sank. Any hope of structure or control evaporated instantly. Within hours, my driveway was filled once again. My family spilled out, laughing and waving as if their unexpected arrival was a delightful surprise rather than a complete disruption. My mother immediately inspected the kitchen cupboards. "There's not much here, Hannah. Weren't you expecting us?" "No, Mum, I wasn't," I replied tensely. My voice trembled slightly, betraying the stress already forming beneath my forced smile. Robert shrugged dismissively. "Can't you run down to Trader Joe's or something? Your mother was hoping for fresh shrimp tonight." I clenched my jaw and forced myself to breathe evenly. "Sure, Dad." As the days passed, my frustration intensified. I was spending far beyond my budget, and deadlines were piling up. My latest client had requested extensive changes to an important app update. I needed hours of uninterrupted focus, something impossible with 3 energetic children and oblivious adults roaming freely through my house. Then it happened, the moment my strained patience finally snapped. I'd stepped out briefly to pick up supplies, leaving clear instructions not to enter my workspace. When I returned, I immediately noticed the door to my home office wide open, my heart pounding wildly. Inside, little Mia sat innocently tapping away on my keyboard, Olivia casually scrolling through her phone nearby. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded, voice trembling as I rushed toward my computer. Olivia barely glanced up. "Relax, Hannah. Mia was bored. It's just a game." "No, it's not a game," I snapped, pulling Mia gently away. "That's my work computer, Olivia. It's filled with sensitive client data." Olivia raised her eyebrows dismissively. "Come on, she's 5. What harm could she possibly do?" With dread, I examined the screen. Files were missing. Panic surged through me as I frantically searched for the project I'd spent months perfecting. My hands shook uncontrollably, heart racing faster with each unsuccessful click. "It's gone," I whispered, eyes wide with disbelief. "Everything's gone." Olivia stood up, suddenly defensive. "You should have locked the door or something, Hannah. Don't blame Mia." "Olivia!" I snapped, feeling my anger finally breaking through years of bottled resentment. "This was my job, my income. You've ruined months of work." Her eyes widened indignantly. "I didn't ruin anything, Hannah. She's a kid." "You're overreacting." Before I could respond, Emily entered, glancing casually around. "What's going on?" "Hannah's freaking out because Mia touched her computer," Olivia explained dismissively. Emily scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Seriously, Hannah? It's just an app." "Just an app?" My voice rose sharply. "This is my career. You come here, disrespect my home, my space, treat me like your personal hotel manager, and now destroy my work and call me dramatic?" Jason appeared at the doorway, arms crossed defensively. "Relax, Hannah. Nobody's sabotaging you. Family comes first, remember?" His words stung deeply, feeling like a slap across the face. My entire life had revolved around prioritizing them, yet here I was, invisible once again. I stared at each of them, disbelief and hurt mingling with growing rage. That night, after the others retreated to bed, I sat awake, devastated and humiliated. I'd received an email from my client. Their trust shattered, terminating our contract due to my sudden unreliability. Everything I'd built had crumbled in minutes because I couldn't establish boundaries with people I trusted most. But the worst betrayal was yet to come. Late that evening, unable to sleep, I overheard soft laughter drifting from the kitchen. Curiosity drew me closer. Through the crack in the door, I saw Olivia and Emily whispering quietly as they sipped wine. "You should have seen Hannah," Olivia giggled quietly, mocking my voice. "You've ruined months of work. It's always drama with her." Emily smirked. "Well, maybe losing that stupid contract will teach her to loosen up. Honestly, she should be grateful. We come all this way, keep her company, and she acts like we're burdens." Olivia nodded. "Exactly. She makes good money anyway. She can afford to host us once a year. It's not like she spends it on anything important." I felt numb. The casual cruelty of their words cut deeper than I'd ever imagined possible. Standing in the darkness outside that door, something in me finally broke. This wasn't ignorance or carelessness. It was deliberate disregard. I was nothing more than a convenient vacation spot, a bank, an unpaid servant. They weren't family, they were parasites, draining me emotionally, tears stinging my eyes. Anger replaced shock, determination replacing defeat. The second summer at my beach house had already pushed me dangerously close to the edge, but I kept convincing myself things would settle down. Family was family, I told myself. Arguments were normal. But as the days went on, their behavior chipped away at the fragile patience I had left, exposing layers of resentment I hadn't known existed. It started late one evening, a few days after the blow-up with Olivia. The house was finally quiet. Everyone was outside, gathered around the fire pit, roasting marshmallows and laughing carelessly under the starlit sky. Needing a moment of peace, I had stayed back in the kitchen, methodically scrubbing dishes, hoping the repetitive action would soothe my nerves. Through the open window, I overheard the low murmur of voices drifting from the patio. Olivia's voice was unmistakable, tinged with casual disdain. I froze, hands submerged in hot soapy water, my breath catching in my throat. I don't get Hannah, Olivia sighed dramatically. You'd think after all these years she'd lighten up, stop treating us like freeloaders. She's got plenty of money. Emily chuckled, her voice dripping with contempt. Right? I mean, it's once a year. We're family. Why else would she buy a beach house if not to share it? Anger surged through me, hot and sharp, tightening my chest. They spoke as if my sacrifices, my privacy, and my space were owed to them, simply because we shared DNA. I leaned closer, heart hammering, as Emily continued. Honestly, we're doing her a favor. Without us, she'd be sitting alone, staring at a computer screen all day. Olivia laughed lightly. Exactly. She complains about spending money, but what else would she use it for? It's not like she's got anyone special to spoil. I stepped back from the window, their casual cruelty leaving me breathless. Was this truly how they saw me? A lonely, desperate ATM who existed only to finance their vacations? The thought cut deep. My mind raced with confusion and anger, but beneath it all lay a bitter sadness. These were the people who were supposed to support me. Instead, they were mocking me, exploiting my generosity without remorse. Days later, another painful blow arrived. This time from Jason. He approached me one afternoon, his expression grave, eyes urgent. Hannah, I hate to do this, but I really need your help. It's an emergency. My heart immediately tightened. Family emergencies were sacred. Without hesitation, I asked, what's wrong? Jason sighed deeply, visibly troubled. I don't want Mum or Dad to know. It's embarrassing, but Emily and I hit a rough patch financially. Unexpected medical bills, some debt piling up. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. Of course, I immediately transferred the money, $2,000, to Jason's account without another thought, anxious but relieved I could help in some way. Yet the relief didn't last long. Just 2 days later, a package arrived at the house addressed to Jason. Curiosity tugged at me as I signed for it, noticing the flashy logo from a luxury watch company printed on the box. Confusion and suspicion mingled uncomfortably inside me. Unable to resist, I checked the packing slip inside. It confirmed my worst fears. A $4,000 watch stared back at me mockingly, each polished detail a sharp reminder of my misplaced trust. Heart pounding furiously, I confronted Jason immediately. This was your emergency, a watch. Jason's smile froze, discomfort flickering across his face. Come on, Hannah, it's not what you think. Then what exactly is it? I demanded, my voice trembling with barely restrained fury. You told me there was an emergency. I gave you that money without question. He hesitated, avoiding eye contact. I just needed something nice for myself. I didn't think you'd miss it, honestly. My blood ran cold. I trusted you, I whispered bitterly. I thought you genuinely needed my help. He rolled his eyes defensively. Why are you always so dramatic? It's just money. You have plenty. You lied to me, I said quietly, the hurt evident in my voice. Family isn't supposed to lie. Jason sighed irritably, clearly dismissing my feelings as trivial. Let it go, Hannah. It's done, but I couldn't let it go. The betrayal burned, gnawing at my chest relentlessly, further tearing apart the already fragile trust I'd struggled so desperately to maintain. Yet the final blow, the one that shattered my last bit of tolerance, came unexpectedly from my parents. Late one evening, as I finished sending urgent emails to a new client, a sudden crash reverberated through the house, jolting me upright. Heart racing, I hurried into the kitchen to find Robert and Linda standing guiltily beside my brand new espresso machine, which now lay shattered across the tiled floor, coffee spilling everywhere. Oh my God, what happened? I exclaimed, staring in disbelief at the wreckage. Linda waved her hand dismissively. Well, it practically broke itself. We barely touched it. Robert nodded sharply, voice defensive. You should have put it somewhere safer, Hannah. It was bound to fall eventually. Shock rendered me momentarily speechless. You're blaming me for this? Linda's expression hardened, her tone patronizing. It wasn't secure, Hannah, really. This wouldn't have happened if you'd been more careful. You always were a bit careless with things. Careless? Me? After everything I'd done? After everything I'd sacrificed? Something snapped inside me at that moment. The resentment, frustration, and hurt I'd bottled up for years surged violently to the surface, demanding release. Their lack of accountability, Jason's lies, the careless insults whispered behind my back. It all hit me with devastating clarity. You broke it, I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. And instead of admitting it, you're blaming me. Robert waved dismissively. We'll replace it, Hannah. No need to get hysterical. But I wasn't hysterical. I was clear-eyed for the first time in my life. My family didn't just disrespect my boundaries. They genuinely didn't respect me. They never had. To them, I was nothing more than convenient, a resource, a fallback plan, a caretaker without needs or feelings of my own. The realization filled me with profound grief, but beneath it simmered a powerful, undeniable anger. Anger that I had allowed this for so long. Anger at my own willingness to be complicit in my mistreatment. As I stood staring at the broken fragments scattered across the kitchen floor, my vision blurred with tears of frustration and rage. My entire body trembled, not from sadness, but from resolve. This had to end. I would no longer let them treat me this way. Next summer, I promised myself fiercely, would finally be different. They might not believe it yet, but they'd learn soon enough. I never thought I would find myself locked in my own house, hiding from the people I trusted most, but in the third summer, as I stood in my house, silently looking through the curtains at the familiar convoy of cars coming down my driveway, a surge of fear and fierce determination surged through me. Earlier that month, I'd finally mustered the courage to declare publicly, posting clearly on social media, that this summer, my doors would remain locked. No visitors, no exceptions. Yet, as I watched their cars spill onto my driveway, for the third summer in a row, my heart sank in disbelief. They hadn't taken me seriously, not a single word. I could feel the sweat forming on my palms as I stepped back from the window, my pulse racing uncontrollably. Olivia was first out, already complaining loudly about the heat, followed by Jason, sunglasses perched arrogantly on his forehead, as though he'd arrived at a luxury resort rather than the home of the sister he'd betrayed. Mom was pointing animatedly toward the house, her voice ringing loud enough to penetrate the thick glass windows. My phone buzzed sharply, and the screen flashed with Mom's name. I stared at it, hesitating before finally picking up. "Hannah, honey, come open up, we're all here." Mom's voice carried the irritating cheerfulness of someone oblivious to their own imposition. "I told you clearly that no one was invited this year, Mom," I replied, trying to steady my voice despite my pounding pulse. "You need to leave." "Oh, don't be ridiculous, Hannah," she laughed lightly, dismissing my words entirely. "Family doesn't need an invitation. Besides, we've driven all this way." My heart hammered painfully in my chest. "Mom, I was very clear. I'm not opening the door." Before she could argue further, I ended the call, fingers trembling slightly. Through my front window, I watched as the family processed my decision. Jason strode to the porch, knocking loudly, his voice angry and impatient. "Hannah, seriously, stop acting like a child and open the damn door." His arrogance reignited my anger. I stepped back from the window, feeling my resolve harden. My family's voices grew louder, blending into a cacophony of shouting and pounding on the door. "Come on, Hannah," Jason yelled. "Quit playing around." "I'm not playing," I whispered to myself, my fists clenched at my sides. Emily began shouting instructions at Ben and Sophie, who immediately obeyed, starting to pound on my front window, their small hands slapping relentlessly against the glass. Mia, confused and scared, started wailing, adding piercing cries to the chaotic chorus. Olivia screamed something incoherent at me, her anger distorted by the closed windows but clear in its intensity. I stood frozen, tears welling, fighting the urge to give in, but I couldn't, not this time. Suddenly, the shouting outside intensified, and through the blinds I noticed several neighbors gathering. My elderly neighbor, Mr. Thompson, approached cautiously, his arms raised in confusion. My family quieted briefly, then exploded with accusations, gesturing wildly toward my house. Though muffled, I heard enough. "Our daughter refuses to let us inside," Mom announced dramatically, hands on her hips. "Can you believe it? Hannah invited us, and now she's acting crazy," Jason added indignantly. My pulse pounded violently in my temples as I watched Mr. Thompson nodding, calmly listening before he gently replied, "If Hannah doesn't want visitors, maybe you should respect her wishes?" They protested louder, frustration escalating into anger. Olivia, normally composed, shouted, "She's just throwing a tantrum. She does this every year." Mr. Thompson shook his head patiently. "It's her home. She has a right to her space." "Whose side are you on?" Jason snapped. Just then, flashing blue lights cut through the tension. My breath caught sharply in my throat as a police cruiser pulled up beside my crowded driveway, the bright lights swirling, reflecting off my family's startled faces. 2 officers stepped out, approaching the crowd cautiously. "What seems to be the problem here?" asked a tall officer, his voice authoritative. Linda rushed forward, indignant. "Officer, my daughter is inside and refuses to open the door for us. We've driven hours to be here." The officer raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Mom, does she live here?" "Yes, but we're her family," Jason snapped. "She's just being difficult." The officer glanced toward Mr. Thompson, who simply shook his head in quiet disagreement. Actually, officer, Hannah explicitly mentioned she wouldn't be receiving guests this summer. They're causing quite a disturbance now. The second officer stepped forward, addressing my family sternly. Folks, this is private property. If she doesn't want to let you in, you'll need to leave. Robert's jaw tightened with anger. This is ridiculous. She's our daughter. The officer remained unmoved. I understand, sir, but she has every right to deny entry. If you refuse to leave peacefully, we'll have no choice but to escort you off the property. I watched as my family exchanged stunned glances, the reality of the situation finally penetrating their disbelief. After a tense silence, Jason threw his arms up bitterly. Fine, let's go. Clearly, family means nothing to her. As they began loading their belongings back into their cars, I remained frozen behind my locked door, heart pounding furiously. I had won, but it felt raw, hollow. Tears stung my eyes, not from regret, but from an overwhelming mixture of relief, anger, and sad. Watching them drive away, I knew I had crossed an invisible line, one I could never erase, yet beneath the sorrow simmered relief, pure and exhilarating. For the first time, I had stood firm, unapologetic in protecting myself. The conflict inside me had finally tipped in my favor, and though my family would brand me selfish and cruel, deep down I knew I had finally reclaimed control. Later, standing alone in my quiet house, I breathed deeply, letting the silence wash over me. Yes, it hurts, betrayal always does, but the ache was tempered by a newfound strength, a quiet resolve I had never felt before. Maybe someday they'd understand the pain they'd caused. Maybe one day they'd finally acknowledge how deeply they'd wounded me. Until then, I promised myself one thing: I'd never again let them, or anyone else, steal my peace. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely free. Standing there in the deafening silence after the chaos had finally ended, I felt a strange mixture of triumph and sadness. Watching the taillights of my family's cars disappear down the winding road filled me with an unfamiliar sense of relief, but beneath it was a dull ache of loss. They were my family after all, and despite everything, some part of me still wished things had been different. Over the following days, the silence became my companion rather than my enemy. My inbox remained empty, my phone silent. Family group chats, once flooded with laughter and vacation plans, had gone quiet. Social media was another battlefield, filled with vague yet pointed messages about betrayal, loyalty, and selfishness. It stung, but I refused to engage. After years of bending myself into impossible shapes to fit their expectations, I had finally stood firm. If this was the cost, I decided, so be it. But then, something unexpected happened. One evening about 2 weeks later, my phone vibrated against the kitchen counter, the screen flashing Jason's name. I stared at it cautiously, my thumb hovering hesitantly before finally answering. Hey. Jason's voice was unusually quiet, tinged with an awkward hesitance I'd never heard from my confident older brother. Hannah, can we talk? I tensed instinctively. Depends. Are you here to lecture me again about family? No, he sighed deeply, sounding genuinely exhausted. I messed up. Really badly. Silence hung heavily between us until Jason cleared his throat nervously. I shouldn't have lied about the money. It wasn't fair to you. Emily and I talked, and we know what we did was wrong. I've already sent the money back to your account. It wasn't right, Hannah. You deserved better from me, from all of us. A lump formed in my throat, emotions swirling rapidly between lingering anger and the warmth of relief. Thank you, I finally whispered, my voice thick with sincerity and cautious forgiveness. That means a lot. Days later, my phone rang again. Olivia's name illuminated the screen, causing my heart to race with apprehension. When I answered, she spoke softly, remorse evident in every hesitant word. Hannah, I'm so sorry. I should have respected your boundaries. I took advantage of your generosity and treated you unfairly. You didn't deserve that. I was wrong. Mia is my responsibility, and I crossed the line. Please forgive me. I closed my eyes, the weight on my chest easing slightly. I appreciate that, Olivia. It hurt. A lot. But I'm glad you understand now. Emily followed soon after. Her voice trembled uncharacteristically as she apologized, admitting her role in treating me like a free service instead of family. It was surprising and deeply comforting to finally hear genuine remorse from people I had begun to doubt would ever acknowledge their actions. But nothing prepared me for what arrived next. A handwritten letter, neatly addressed in familiar handwriting. My heart skipped as I recognized my mother's careful penmanship, each letter deliberate and precise. With trembling fingers, I unfolded the paper, breath catching as I read, Dearest Hannah, We don't even know where to start. Looking back, we realize how unfairly we've treated you. Not just these past summers, but perhaps your entire life, your home, your career, your choices. They all deserved respect we failed to provide. Your father and I let our selfishness blind us to your feelings, dismissing your boundaries because it was easier than admitting we were wrong. For that, we're deeply sorry. Please know this comes from our hearts. We hope one day we can earn back your trust and rebuild our relationship with love, respect, and boundaries. All our love, Mum and Dad. Tears blurred my vision as a wave of relief washed through me, powerful and cleansing. I had spent years waiting silently for this acknowledgement, unsure if it would ever come. The sincere apologies felt like a soothing balm, finally validating the hurt I'd carried for so long. I sat alone in my quiet living room, the letter pressed gently against my chest, listening to the steady rhythm of waves crashing outside. This was closure, I realized, a closure born from courage and self-respect, not bitter silence, and it felt good. Still, forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. When summer rolled around again, I politely declined invitations to host family visits. I had learned to guard my peace fiercely, refusing to surrender it again. Instead, I filled my home with laughter from close friends, colleagues, and neighbors, people who genuinely valued my space, my time, and my heart. One evening in late July, I stood on my deck with a handful of close friends, the warm ocean breeze playing gently through our hair. Music played softly, punctuated by laughter and comfortable conversation. This was different, a new kind of family, born from respect and genuine care. I felt genuinely seen and appreciated for the first time in years. In that quiet moment, my phone vibrated gently, a new message from Jason. I opened it cautiously, my heart softening at the sincere simplicity of his words. Hope you're having a peaceful summer, Hannah. Miss you, but I understand. Take care of yourself. I smiled softly, finally at peace with both my solitude and the prospect of a healthier, more honest family connection down the line. As the sunset painted the sky in fiery golds and oranges, I raised my glass silently to the ocean breeze, feeling genuinely content. I had faced betrayal, disrespect, and heartache head-on and emerged stronger, wiser, and unbroken. This wasn't the ending I expected, but it was exactly the one I deserved. What do you think about the ending? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time.